Bachelor. Bachelor. It means a man who is or has never been married before. For example, he remained a bachelor until he was well into his 40s. Acquaintance. Acquaintance. A person that you have met but don't know well. For example, I have terrible remembering the names of all my acquaintances. Fiancee. Fiancee. A woman who is engaged to be married. For example, he introduced his fiancée to the relatives. Fiancé. Fiancé. A man who is engaged to be married. For example, she also introduced her fiancé to her family. Spinster. Spinster. An elderly unmarried woman. For example, she was afraid of becoming a spinster. Gossip. Gossip. A person who enjoys talking about other people's private lives. For instance, he is a terrible gossip. Don't share your secrets with him. Heir. Heir. A person who has the legal right to receive somebody's property, money, when that person dies. For example, after the sudden passing of her grandmother, Cain discovered she was the sole heir to the family estate. Landlord. Landlord. The person who owns the property that you rent. For example, the landlord promised to redecorate the bedrooms before we moved in. Orphan. Orphan. A child whose parents both died. For example, he was left an orphan when his parents died in a car accident. Predecessor. Predecessor. A person who had a job or position before someone else. For example, the company's new president has changed many of the policies that were introduced by his predecessor. Rival. Rival. Competitor. For example, the teams have been longtime rivals. Tenant. Tenant. A person who pays rent for the use of room, building to the person who owns it. He was cruel to his tenants. Adolescent. Adolescent. A young person who is developing from a child into an adult. Their children are now adolescents. Bigot. Bigot. A person who strongly dislikes and hates others' ideas, racial or religious group. For example, he was labeled as bigot after making some offensive comments. Civilian. Civilian. A person who is not a member of the armed forces or the police. Many civilians had been injured during the war. Tycoon. Tycoon. A person of great wealth, influence or power, magnate. For example, he is real business tycoon. Arbitrator. Arbitrator. A person who is chosen to settle a disagreement between people or groups. Both sides agree to accept a decision by an impartial arbitrator.